Okay, by my clock, I think we are about ready to rock. Jessica is my right hand. Are we ready to go?
We're ready.
Okay, amazing. Good evening, everyone. I will now call to order the THPRD Board of Directors meeting for October 9th, 2024. Jessica, will you please call roll?
Barbie Miner.
Here.
Alfredo Moreno.
Here.
Miles Palacios.
Here.
Felista Monteblanco.
Here.
Tia Ping.
Here.
Fantastic. Well, first up, I do believe we have some actions coming out of executive session. With that, I would entertain a motion.
This is Tia. Oh, or Alfredo can do it.
All right. Go ahead, Tia.
Okay, I'll go. I move that the Board of Directors authorize staff to acquire the property in the northwest quadrant of the district for the price discussed in executive session, using system development charge fees in escrow as well as cash, subject to the standard due diligence review and approval by the general manager or designee.
And I'll second that.
Excellent. Jessica, do you need to take roll?
Yes. Miles Palacios.
Aye.
Felista Monteblanco.
Yes.
Alfredo Moreno.
Yes.
Tia Ping.
Yes.
Barbie Miner.
Yes. All right. And with that, I think we will move on. We've got some proclamations this month. We are starting off with Indigenous Peoples Day. So if my team is ready, would love to kick us off. I've got the honor here of starting. Whereas THPRD recognizes that the Indigenous peoples of the Americas have been stewards of this land since time immemorial, and
whereas THPRD recognizes that the Tualatin Valley was the land of the Atfalati band of the Kalapuya Indians, after whom the valley is named, and
whereas THPRD recognizes the area currently known as Beaverton was a Native American village called Chakapee, or Place of the Beaver, and
whereas THPRD recognizes the value of the many contributions, past and present, that the Indigenous peoples have made to this community, and
whereas the United States endorsed the United Nations Declarations of the Rights of Indigenous People on December 16, 2010, recognizing the right to the dignity and diversity of their cultures, traditions, histories, and aspirations, which shall be appropriately reflected in education and public information, and
whereas THPRD reaffirms our commitment to respect the human rights of THPRD's American Indian, Alaska Native, and Indigenous communities, and
whereas THPRD is committed to honoring the history, culture, and traditions of Indigenous peoples, and is committed to ongoing learning and cultural appreciation for Indigenous peoples.
now, therefore, the Board of Directors of the Tualatin Hills Park and Recreation District does hereby declare Monday, October 14th, 2024 as Indigenous Peoples Day, and do urge all those in the Tualatin Hills Park and Recreation District to support and promote this observance.
thank you very much. I think next up with that, we also have Emily Kent, who I think will be joining us to offer our proclamation for Lights On After School.
Thank you, Board of Directors, for having me here tonight. My name is Emily Kent. I'm the Sports and Inclusion Manager, and I'm here to represent the Recreation Division, who provides the after-school programs in our district. Whereas THPRD stands firmly committed to quality after-school programs, and whereas after-school programs provide safe and engaging learning experiences that help children realize their full potential and also support working families by ensuring their children are safe and productive when they are out of their classrooms, and whereas after-school programs engage families, schools, and community partners in advancing the welfare of our children, and whereas THPRD's Thrive After School program provides critical support for the growth and well-being of youth and offers new experiences and opportunities that help young people learn and grow, and whereas Lights On After School, the national celebration of after-school programs held this year on October 24th, promotes the importance of quality after-school programs, and Whereas nationally, nearly 25 million families report that they would enroll their child in an after-school program if one were available. And for every child in a program, 4 are waiting to get in. And whereas after-school programs across the country are facing operating challenges so severe that they are forced to consider closing their doors and turning off their lights. And whereas THPRD enthusiastically endorses Lights On After School and is committed to innovative after-school programs and activities that ensure that the lights stay on and the doors stay open for all children after school. Now, therefore, the Board of Directors of the Tualatin Hills Park and Recreation District does hereby declare Thursday, October 24th, 2024 as Lights On After School Day, and do urge all those in the Tualatin Hills Park and Recreation District to support and promote this observance.
Thank you, Emily. I very much appreciate you joining us tonight and taking us through that. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right, next up, I don't believe we have any public testimony this evening, but just checking that we're virtual, making sure I didn't miss anyone in the chat, Jessica.
That's correct. We did not have anybody sign up.
Okay, fantastic. Then we will keep moving along with the agenda. Before we jump into our board committee liaison updates, Mr. Menke, do you have an update for us that you'd like to share?
Yes, I want to do an intro for our new HR director, Steve Sutton. But before we go there, I really do need to acknowledge Aisha's efforts over the last 6 months in the process where we had the gap for our HR director. And Aisha did a wonderful job really collecting the team in a time period that was, certainly not without challenge. Lots going on, particularly in HR. And she also led the recruitment process, which was very detailed. We ended up with a very competitive national recruitment, and we were successful in just borrowing, perhaps stealing, from a neighboring agency, Multnomah County. So Steve Sutton, who's on the call with us this evening, he most recently served as Human Resources Director for Multnomah County Health Department. Steve is a graduate of Columbia School of Social Work in New York and is a licensed clinician, social worker in Oregon. While at the health department, he started and built an ADA program, overhauled the expansion and redesign of the recruitment process for the department, and establishing best practices and standards of work for HR, and developed a cross-training program for staff. Outside of work, Steve grew up locally in the metro area and noted, I'll have to call this out, amongst many interests, including family, that he enjoys competitive pickleball. So we're going to explore that a little bit along the way. But I wanted to give a warm welcome to Steve, to THPRD. And Steve, certainly if you have any words for us, feel free.
Doug, thank you very much. I'm not sure if I'm going to live to regret adding the word competitive in front of pickleball when I said I enjoy the sport. I think Doug's brought that up a couple times, so I'm duly intimidated, Doug. But I'm looking forward to finding out how competitive I am. It's been a wonderful first week. I really want to thank Doug and Aisha for a really, really great onboarding so far. And want to thank Jared too, who was there on my first day and really helped me feel welcome. The whole team has been doing a lovely job of bringing me on board. And I think, it's been a busy week. I was at the Northwest Public Employees Diversity Conference on Tuesday, which was an honor to be able to join that event. It was a super dynamic event, and I really appreciate the opportunity to learn at that event and be a part of it. I think, if an indicator of the health of an organization is how we welcome new employees, you all have a lot to be proud of. And I think this is a really strong organization because so far this experience has been really top notch for me. And I couldn't be more thrilled to be part of THPRD. So thank you all very much. And I'm looking forward to working with everyone here.
Fantastic. Well, welcome aboard, Stephen. Looking forward to meeting you in person as well. It's been a moment since we've been virtual, and I have to say I'm loving the emojis again. So I don't know if you could see, but the amount of applause and hearts, of course, we're very eager and excited to have you on board and to begin this important work with you. So welcome to Team THPRD, and boy, you're right. You've joined the pickleball crew here, so you've landed in the right spot. With that, team, I'm not sure who would like to jump in first. I'm happy to do raised hands, or if you just want to come off mute, would be happy to hear from our folks on our board updates.
Thanks, President. I'll jump off mute
Thanks,
and
Miles.
get going. Yeah, so this last month was not able to join the Parks and Facilities Committee meeting, but I am looking forward to the meeting next week, as well as the joint meeting amongst the advisory committees. I was able to attend the Metro Impact meeting that was taking some action on the recommendation from MTAC to the Metro Council regarding the UGB expansion in West Sherwood area. It was an awesome conversation. We ran right up to the time and went a little over because there was a lot of communication from all of the different electeds in that space who had the interest of our community members and our constituencies in mind, and really took time to be thoughtful about the recommendations before the ultimate proposal that would be going to Metro Council. So looking forward to seeing where these next steps take us. And again, just really happy to be able to be the representative from special districts for that committee. And that is my update.
Thank you, Miles. Next up, who wants to jump in?
I can. I attended, or a couple of us attended the Tualatin Hills Park Foundation luncheon, where they swore in a new chair. And so that was really nice. It was held at La Raíz, our beautiful new park. And so it was just a great place. We were preparing for rain and it smiled on us that day and did not rain. So it was just great to have the group get together and see everybody from both the foundation side and our team here at THPRD. Programs and events did meet. It was a very short meeting, just kind of discussing where we're at with changing the programs and events direction. And so it was mostly kind of a summarization for those who had missed previous meetings. And so looking forward to the next future meetings where we really get into the nitty gritty of what the new volunteer group will be able to do and accomplish. And then the audit committee also met, and they will be starting auditing. Our auditing group will be starting soon, and so we met to just let us know and that the process is going to be starting. So it should go start over the next couple months, and then we'll have an update. And I expect it's going to be perfect, like we always are. And our team is so good with following the rules and checking all the boxes, so we have no worries. But yes, that will be getting started soon.
Thank you, Tia. Alfredo or Felicita, updates to share?
I can jump in. I missed my first ever board meeting last month, so I'm relieved to see the district still in existence and everyone carrying on. So, but I also wanted to mention something about the foundation that may or may not have been brought up last month. That August 24th, I really had the great opportunity to join district staff and community members for the Ann Feeves play area dedication there at Schlotman Creek Greenway, the Duck Pond playground area. Just a really meaningful dedication of a place that this person who had such an impact on in ways big and small, and now gets to kind of have a very appropriate memorial and a sense that her spirit kind of lives on there. And it was really nice to hear from the family, and very important for Tualatin Hills Park Foundation to be connected to that as well. So thanks to all the staff who helped kind of make those connections. And I'm sure Anne would have been understanding as I arrived late. I was solo parenting that weekend, so I was dragging two surly kids fighting the whole way across the wooden bridge. Um, but I arrived just in time to give a few remarks. But I did, that I had a person come up as we were after the remarks and just said, I just want to tell you something about THPRD. And I was preparing for something regarding, taxation or something, but just unprompted, just wanted to share what joy and just a lifetime of good memories uh, and satisfaction that this person had with the district, and just wanted to come up and make sure he let me know what a good job we were all doing, and how impressed he was. So always good to hear those things. Yeah, that was a, a very good event, even though I wasn't there that long. So look forward to some bigger and better updates next month. Thanks.
Thank you, Alfredo.
I'll go ahead. So wanted to share that I went on the policymakers bike ride last month, which was fantastic. And I fully understand that it's a big time commitment, but the amount of thoughtfulness that went into this, especially as an anxious bike rider, like it was just a wonderful experience. I want to say on the record that Doug Monkey saved my life twice. And I so appreciate him. But it was so informative, and just huge kudos to all the organizers, including Bruce, and Nicole and Gary spoke. And it was great to just like connect all the dots of all the people that are making Beaverton and surrounding area great, and more accessible and safer. And as a very anxious bike rider, it was so accommodating. I so appreciated it. So kudos to all of them. And in the future, I encourage you all to go if you're able to make it. And then I just wanted to highlight that the Portland Expo work continues. And I've just been so inspired by, as we've discussed, the Expo Center, not that long ago, was used as a Japanese internment site. And so one of the many challenges with a space like that is, how do you move forward with it as a opportunity area, but also acknowledge the harm that it's caused. And I just sit in awe as brilliant, thoughtful artists and historians come up with ways to ensure that we honor the past and keep it present. And every time I think like, oh, don't forget this, they're like 10 steps ahead. So it's just really wonderful, amazing work that's happening over there, that I essentially just cheer on. So anyways, thanks.
Thank you, Felicita. I will just add on two quick ones here from my point of view. As Tia mentioned, I too had the opportunity to join the Park Foundation's annual luncheon. And I was really inspired by not only the turnout, but just the great feeling of the changing of the guard, if you will, honoring again past leadership, welcoming in Gina, our new director at the Park Foundation, and really the energy and excitement that seemed to be there as we were able to meet in our newest park and really just kind of connect in that way. So it was a wonderful afternoon. I wanted to just echo on that as well. And Stephen mentioned earlier in his introduction, I had the opportunity to participate in yesterday's Northwest Public Employees Diversity Conference as well. And when you talk about an impactful day, that pretty much hit the nail on the head for me. I think it's important for us to remember just how mission critical this work is that we are doing here at the district, and recognizing the sentiment that abounds and narratives that are afloat in this moment in time that are, certainly coming forward with negativity against DEI efforts and what that looks like. So just anecdotally, again, completely unsolicited, I had someone come up to me and say, "Oh, you're with THPRD?" And oh, I was so excited to see that you guys have recently transitioned your programs and events committee into, a diversity and equity focus. So the fact that news is out in our community, and that folks are responding to that and took the time to come up and chat with me about that, I thought was a really great indicator of we are moving in the right direction, and how folks really do look to THPRD as a leader in this space, with the dedication and the efforts that we put forward to really center and stay committed to making sure that we are representative of all members of our community. So thanks to the team for that work. Was a very impactful day. And I'm looking forward to sharing more learnings that I had from yesterday's session. So with that, I think we can continue to move on to agenda item number 7, consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
This is Tia. I move that the board approve the consent agenda as submitted.
I will second that motion.
Jessica, could you take a vote?
Lisa Monteblanco,
Yes.
Fredo Moreno,
Yes.
Miles Palacios,
Yes.
Tia Ping,
Yes.
Barbie Minor.
Yes. Okay. We are being quite efficient this evening, crew, so we're going to keep us moving right on along. I believe we've got an update with good old Bruce, I think, if I can see you on my screen, coming to us with a strategic plan update.
Good evening.
There he is.
Yeah.
Good evening. Welcome, Bruce. Thank you for being here.
Good evening. Thanks for having me. As y'all know, in my new title, I'm called the District Sustainability Manager, and tonight I'm excited to share kind of a very broad perspective on the Park District. This is reporting on our last fiscal year of activities on the strategic plan, which was adopted in April of 2023. And the strategic plan is our way to kind of distill down a 5-year piece of our 20-year comprehensive plan. On our first slide, we have kind of a summary of like overall what's going on across the 7 or so focus areas for us. And what you're going to see on the right side of the screen, I'm going to start there, is just showing you those are all the actions and activities that we had outlined as being either straight ahead things or kind of stretch activities. When it says in progress, those are things that we're actively working on. Not started, I think, is probably self-explanatory. When it says process implemented, that means we have started something that is an ongoing thing and we'll never finish it, but it is something we will continue to do and focus on. So we wanted to note that. And then complete means we started it and we finished it and we can kind of check that box and keep going, which is really nice. Given that we're kind of in our first year, staff have they're in different places with this, as you'll see as we move through. And the pie graphs are all oriented with percentages just to give you a sense of the relative focus of each group, recognizing some of the focus areas have just a few things to work on and some have a lot. And that's just the nature of the kinds of work that we're doing. And I don't think it's a judgment on staff at all. But folks are really motivated. It feels core to what we are doing and how we offer the services that we do. So what I'm going to do from here is I will just briefly give you some highlights for each of the sections. And then at the end, we'll have time for discussion and questions. So our first major section is welcoming and inclusive. This area focuses a lot on building community and partnerships and trying to make it so that everybody can play. And what I love about this group is they're so excited. They've started lots of things, right? So a majority of things are in progress, which is wonderful. And just a highlight to show you this is that staff facilitated more than 100 different collaborations last year with community-based organizations and cultural groups, and they're really very actively working on district-wide initiatives. These things happen in parks, they happen in facilities, they happen, you know, sometimes in partner places, and it's just neat to see all the different things that they're doing. I could read you like a half-hour thing on each section, but recognizing that you don't want to be here all night, I'm going to give you just a few highlights again from each section. So in Play for Everyone, this one represents the ways that people play and participate in our programs and activities. And one thing that's really fascinating about this section is again, they're working on a lot of stuff and they're still rebuilding. They have robust programs, but since COVID, registration numbers have been going up and up and up. And in some cases, they've reached historic numbers and exceeded them. And in some places, they're still rebuilding the program. And so they have a lot of neat opportunities to examine how they're doing it and what they're doing. And I think it'll be exciting to get into the details a little bit about this one at a future report. But you can see a lot's in motion, few things are done, and they're going to kind of keep at it. Accessible and safe is kind of one of the more balanced ones. They got some stuff in motion. They implemented some things. There's some things they haven't yet got to, and I love this picture here in this one. This is one of our field staff installing an ADA accessible water fountain, and he found a couple of supervisors from a summer camp telling him how to do that. But it also exemplifies what this section is about, which really is how do we maintain and replace facilities so people can safely access parks and facilities. And this represented a huge range from constructing permanent restrooms to planning of new parks in underserved areas, for example, up in North Bethany. And lots of those things were funded, or some of those things were funded with grants, which is really neat because we're finding money to help us carry out our mission without using our kind of standard sources. Environmental stewardship encompasses a pretty broad swath. It's the natural resource work we do, it's the sustainability work we do in our buildings, and it's really how we care for all these different areas and make them sort of come alive. Our climate action plan is, as you know, is adopted, and lots of things are underway. We have 2 buildings enrolled in a strategic energy management program to save electricity in particular, but also, natural gas where we can. Staff are collaborating in a regional tree program to try and get increased canopy and tree health, both in natural areas and in developed areas across Washington County. And then both our park maintenance and our natural resource staff were highly involved this last winter, as you recall in the photo here, in cleaning up from the big ice storm we had, and now we're working on coming up with climate adapted trees that will replant over the coming season. So moving on to diversity, equity, inclusion, and access, this section focuses a lot on what we're doing internally. This is about creating an equitable workplace and inclusive public planning processes. And one of the things that I love about this is it's very much embedded in what we do every day. It's rare that someone's like, we should do this DEI thing, so much as they introduce ideas and staff work on them. And so I'm, along with some other folks, are from our human resources group and from our communications department, are working on developing an equity strategy. There's quite a few trainings available to staff, both digitally and in person. And more recently, we've launched several affinity groups for staff from different backgrounds to kind of meet up and bond with folks who have similar interests. Technology and innovation. This one, there's only a small number of things that are on their list. And of course, the purpose of this group is to streamline processes and better enable the district to engage with the community. And the biggest thing that's going on, and a huge thing, especially on the public-facing side, is they've started the process to update our website and our registration system. And there's been some listening sessions and some kind of evaluations of what do we have, where do we need to go. There's a digital inventory going on. That's the photo on the right of all the district's assets so that we can better manage them and integrate them into capital and ADA planning. And so just a small number of initiatives, but huge. Our financial sustainability one, again, a smaller number of things, but good progress being made. Obviously, financial sustainability lets us continue to offer the high quality programs and services that we do. And this includes things like implementing our new financial software. Several of the modules in there were implemented this year, and those will be wrapped up next year. we had lots of grant things. I love this picture with all these decision makers and kind of movers and shakers in the park district and the giant check, right? And then the last thing that it was so huge, and yet it's created this really great platform as we passed an operating levy. And it's easy to forget because it just means we can keep doing what we were doing, but it's a really big accomplishment. And so everyone involved deserves kudos for that. My last slide is all about next steps. And I'm not going to read these to you, but I'll just pause for a moment so you can see some of the initiatives that staff are working towards in the coming year. And it's worth noting that all of these initiatives, they are multi-group. It's not one department leading this. It is people from different groups working together to really make them happen. And I think that's exactly how it needs to be.
I think I saw Felicitas' hand raised.
I pressed the wrong button. I meant to do an emoji. Sorry.
Oh, good.
Miles, you have a question?
No questions, just a comment. It's really cool to see this whole presentation, but I think this next steps page does a really good job at representing the values of the district and the work that is happening internally here. So just thank you so much, Bruce. This is incredible.
I thank you on behalf of the dozens and dozens of staff who helped. So
thanks to everyone.
Center here. It's nice to have good news, right?
Alfredo?
Okay, so this is the time to make comment. You didn't have another section, Bruce.
I have a final slide that's called discussion.
Okay. So
So I'm totally happy to hear your comments. Recognizing that there was a printed report that went with this, and that all of this is geared towards helping you understand where the staff are at and plan towards your retreat. I did want to ask the question of how well it meets your needs, and is there any particular thing you'd like to see differently next year? But otherwise, we're open to questions or comments.
Great. I loved the report. All in a row, I was trying to make sure I was keeping it straight of what the difference of the reports were. I think I just have this, big packet here. That was the only thing that was just maybe slightly confusing because I wasn't sure if I had flipped the pages wrong or something. But no, it was super detailed, easy to read, easy to follow. I just jotted down a few things. I'm just going to rattle them off.
Okay.
So let's see. I'll stick to the highlights. So I just had this one comment about. I saw the note about park shelter rentals and inaccessible and safe. I love that. I went to our website and we have it on there, but I just noticed it's still kind of buried. Just from if there's any sort of way that we can make that be something that when people jump on, it's pretty easy for them to spot and go right to.
Okay.
That would be great. And
All
maybe
right.
Holly's responding to me right this minute about that.
I actually have very good news on that front, Alfredo.
Aha.
It's like you've been reading the staff to-do list. So we are I'm not going to lie, this is a bit of the bane of my existence because it should be much easier to be. It should be more front and center, and it should be not just shelter rentals, but how to rent anything should be way collapsed together. And, one of the common things that's frustrating about our website is it's very organized around how we're structured. You want to rent a room at Garden Home, you got to go to Garden Home, you got to figure it out that way versus, hey, I want a birthday party room. What are all my options across the district? So here's the really great news. We're not waiting until we get through the business requirements, scoping out the website and getting all of that together, which will take longer than we wanted to, right? We're fixing that on the existing website. So our digital engagement specialist has been working with all of our marketing liaisons across the district. They've got a prototype of that page. And I mean, we're days away from having that updated, pushed to the front and center, and much, much easier to get. So your wish is our command, and it is coming within days, weeks. I think I don't have an update, but I would say less than 2 weeks from when I last heard on the
Beautiful.
project.
Beautiful. Thank you for that. One big one that I circled under diversity, equity, inclusion, and access is I don't want to overcommit my peers, but we have a board of directors that is comprised of 4 people of color and 1 super ally. Put us to work if we can help be a resource or do anything to help things with staff. I think that's not a everyday situation. I think we're all pretty proud of that. That our leadership at the highest level of the organization is diverse and is inclusive, and we're walking the walk. So I would love to be more engaged in that if there's opportunities that staff feels are appropriate for us to be involved there. And then my final thought was just under financial sustainability. You all know I love the sponsorship analysis. I love that. I would love to see if there's some sort of way we could articulate it in a strategic plan, just a little more, just call out our collaboration and integration with the foundation, to kind of put that in writing of some sort of high level goal to work more closely or increase the symbiotic relationship or reciprocity or however you want to put it. But I think that would be important to kind of plant that flagpole out in the distance and just kind of be slowly marching towards that. I've said it before, I do think that a vibrant foundation is a huge key to maintaining and growing the things that we want to do that might otherwise be at risk during lean budget times or tax weariness and things like that. So other than that, this was beautiful to read because look, I actually followed it and had lots of ideas. So now I will cede the floor to somebody else.
Noted. Thanks for the comments.
Felicita, I think you were next in the queue.
I think so, yeah. Love the report. It's a really great tool. Thank you, Bruce, and all the other staff that worked on it. Bruce, can you go one slide back? I don't know if my report is missing a page because I hadn't seen these next steps, which is just fine. I was excited to see the create methods to regularly evaluate, measure, and improve services, only because I think that so much of our work, there's lots of ways to measure success and impact. And so I know with the team that we have, we're going to think outside the box and how that it's not just attendance as one measurement or how much money we made on a program. There are so many other ways to measure success, and whether it be the levy was its own success, right? And an indication of the trust that we have in the community. Yep. So anyways, that just made me think of that. And I hadn't seen these next steps, but they all look exciting and wonderful. And so many of these projects are ginormous. I feel like there's not a lot of detail in that, new website is ginormous, expensive project. So of course that's not just done yet. And also, I just wanted to acknowledge, I know we have volunteer photographers, and I just love our photos. They're so beautiful. And some of these events, we can't all go to. So to have a glimpse of what they were like is really special. So thank you.
That's great. Thank you. As a tip for next year, we'll call out the next step section a little more clearly. But if you go back to the summary in each section, the last kind of paragraph has, here's where we're headed in fiscal year 25. But I think we can do a better job putting a bolded headline there. Any other questions or comments?
I was looking at Tia before I jump in.
I'm good. Yep.
Okay, fantastic. Yes, thank you, Bruce and staff, for this. I have just one kind of, as we're looking ahead of what this could look like, I think the overall summary page, when we start to see the numbers don't necessarily tell the full story. So at first, when you see projects completed, there could be a disconnect between the progress that is made when you see that number is rather small in comparative to the set of all that we have in flight. So I don't know how complicated this would be, but a thought is, as they are completed, could we also have a summary of what those completed projects are that might better inform the story? And if that was called out, you let me know. But I went through in terms of what's on the docket and what's in process, but what we actually stamp and say is done.
Yep.
And I
Yep.
think we don't often have an opportunity to celebrate all of the wins. And
Yep.
some of those projects, they may be, when to Felicita's earlier point, it could equal one project completed, and that project that's completed was the levy, right? So I think just being mindful of maybe summarizing all that was completed, not just exclusively what is yet to come, but having a moment to look back at what has been accomplished, and putting some details around that. I think that would be tremendously helpful and supportive for the work that we're doing.
Okay, fair enough. Question, we have 120 different items that we're working towards. Would it be helpful to keep the sort of single page summary, but to have an appendix maybe at the end with a little more detail?
I even just thought it was because of the numbers. I wasn't looking at 120. I was looking, if you give me a moment, I'm going to go to my page.
Yeah.
I don't know on your slides if you even want to go back, that very first slide where you have the chart that says, here are the not started, in process, completed, and the number completed was 3. Perhaps that could then equal being in an appendix. But maybe just a denotation of what those 3 that we're actually calling out as being completed, what those are.
Okay, we can work on that.
As an idea, thought starter.
All right, thank you.
All right. Any other questions or comments for Mr. Barbarash while we've got him here on the line? Tremendous work. How you take 120 projects and synthesize that down into a digestible recap. Kudos to you and team on that. Appreciate it, Bruce. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Good night.
Okay, I think it is about time for Mr. Menke. We are heading into General Manager's report. I'm not sure if you're going to chat first or if we're going to welcome Leilani and talk about our annual grant report. Oh, sorry, Doug, you're on mute.
True enough. Let's go for it. Yeah, Leilani's ready to go.
Okay, welcome, Leilani. Thank you so much for being here. The floor is yours.
Hello, good evening, everybody. I'm Leilani Garcia, Grants Administrator. It's my pleasure to be here tonight to provide an overview of THPRD's grant activity for fiscal year 24. This presentation will showcase some grant stats, feature 3 grant-funded programs that are equity-focused, and 3 diverse capital projects. We'll also take a brief look at what's ahead in FY25. First, let's take a look at grants by the numbers. Next slide. So in FY24, we submitted 28 grants requesting just under $15.5 million. Of these requests, THPRD was awarded half, totaling about $6.6 million, which is actually a $500,000 increase in grant awards over the previous fiscal year. Staff completed 11 grant projects in FY24, 8 of which were program-related and 3 capital. And currently, staff are managing 24 grant-funded projects totaling more than $23.3 million. So the first equity-focused grant-funded program I want to highlight is Thrive at Chehalem. Next slide. Thank you. The National Recreation and Park Association awarded THPRD $50,000 to support the Thrive program that operates on the Chehalem Elementary School campus, where more than 95% of the student population is on the federal free reduced price lunch program. The next grant-funded program I'll highlight actually funds not 1, but 3 of THPRD's youth development program. $104,846 was received from the Oregon Department of Education's Youth Development Division. The first program funded by this grant is a Black and Green program. You'll see a photo from that program at the top. This program, held in partnership with Beaverton Black Parent Union, gives high school students the opportunity to increase their understanding of the connection between nature and mental health, deepen their connection to themselves, nature, and the community. 15 youth participated in the program in FY24, and I believe you were able to hear a little bit about this program at your August meeting. The junior lifeguard program, pictured at the bottom, enables youth as young as 12 years of age the opportunity to obtain the basic skills and experience necessary to qualify for a staff lifeguard position when they turn 16. Youth can participate in the junior lifeguard program with little or no swimming experience, as they will participate in training that teaches them how to swim. Funding helped to support 110 youth in this program. And finally, the photo to the right is from the Realizing Interest Through Science Experience, or RISE Leadership program, where youth can develop the necessary leadership and communication skills to join the workforce. THPRD had over 500 youth RISE participants in FY24. Next slide. This is a really popular picture. It's the second time you've seen it this evening. The first capital grant funded project I'd like to highlight is the Tualatin Hills Community Shelter Emergency Operations and Natural Hazard Mitigation Project. That's a mouthful. This project, championed by Congresswoman Suzanne Bonamici, will enable the district to complete natural hazard mitigation action items that will prepare designated sites to serve as air-filtered heating and cooling centers, to purchase and install technology to maintain communication across sites in the event of a major disaster, and to complete solar and seismic evaluations at THPRD's Emergency Operations Center. The next grant project I'll highlight is the design and engineering of the West Side Trail pedestrian and bicycle bridge that will cross over US Highway 26. We received $1.9 million from the Metro Trails bond for this next milestone phase that moves us closer to completing a crucial link of the West Side Trail, connecting 25 miles of regional trail for pedestrians, runners, and cyclists. And the final capital grant project I'd like to highlight is the Commonwealth Lake Improvements Project. A Land and Water Conservation Fund grant was awarded through the Oregon Parks and Recreation Department to replace the Weir pedestrian bridge and 50 feet of asphalt pathway at Commonwealth Lake Park. In addition to these improvements, an ADA compliant parking will be installed at the site. So when we look to the horizon, we actually have already begun to work on an FY25 funding plan to pursue grants to complete the construction of the West Side Trail Bridge. This ambitious undertaking will enhance regional connectivity and is estimated to cost upwards of $34 million. To reach this funding goal, we're pursuing multiple state and federal funding sources, some of them which are listed here. And finally, while it has been challenging to secure grants that would support programs, in FY25, we won't be deterred, and we'll continue to pursue equity-focused programming opportunities as they may arise. This concludes the annual report for fiscal year 24. However, I want to take a moment to express my gratitude to the board, leadership, and staff, in addition to Gina Lobaco, the Executive Director of the Park Foundation, for supporting all of the grant activity this year, as our success really would not have been possible without it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Leilani.
Welcome.
Fellow directors, comments, questions? Seeing lots of love emojis, but waiting for a raised hand. I don't want to. Felicita, please.
I'm just, that was great. Thank you. And I love seeing the number breakdown. I'm trying to remember, this was before your time, Leilani. This position didn't exist like 6-7 years ago, right? Doug? I'm looking at you, Doug. Am I remembering this correctly?
Well, I could answer that better. I
remember we had Cindy, right?
Yeah. And I want to say Cindy was the first, but someone will politely correct me on staff, I'm sure.
Doug, we actually, maybe about 8-9 years ago, we converted a position, and we did have a grant writer that had been one of our park planners. And so he had moved into that role. So we did have someone kind of spending a majority of their time doing grant writing, but hiring Cindy was kind of the first big step into it. And Leilani has come in and over the last nearly 2 years, just absolutely taken us to another level. She's doing a fantastic job. We're very lucky.
Yeah, I guess I just wanted to point out that it's clearly worth the investment, right? And I'm so glad that this position is prioritized. Leilani, so appreciative of your skill set, that you are having us play with we're at the adult table, and I love it. So thank you.
Thank you. I will say that none of this would be possible without the support of staff and folks just around the table, because I say I coordinate the production of grants because it does take a village to produce any one of these grants that I've presented so far.
Well, I'm just struck by the amount, it's just, I'm aware of this intellectually, but then to see the report and just see the diversity of projects that we are utilizing grant funding for and writing for is really impressive. Just to, and yeah, it takes a lot of work and a lot of minutia and attention to detail. So thank you, everyone who's involved in that.
I will have to comment, if I could, please, that Leilani and I have a unique relationship in that I get a lot of very official looking emails of we won something or we need more info or something that I pass on in a hurry because she knows all the answers to that. And then, of course, we don't get to see each other often, but it's just often enough we're at these events. And she looks so official. I am convinced she's one of the elected officials.
I love the anecdotal information, Doug. Thank you for Any other comments before I have a statement myself? All right. I will continue to just echo the sentiments of my fellow directors. I think the component of this that cannot be understated enough is, again, this is quote unquote free found money. So if you're talking about is the juice worth the squeeze, to summarize, kind of Felicita's point in terms of this position, I think that becomes very, very apparent. And I just want to thank you for your outlook looking ahead and letting us know that the environment and kind of the tenor of the amount of dollars available and those who are willing to be able to fund said programs might be shifting and being diminished. But I think, Leilani, the word that you used is we will not be deterred. And
that's right.
of outlook and approach is palpable. We see it in how these dollars come to fruition and the various ways in which we're able to continue to fund using this. So thank you for the continued positive outlook, even despite some headwinds that might make this a little bit more challenging. But kudos to you and the entire team, and thanks so much for this really impactful work.
Well, you are very welcome. It is my pleasure to do this.
All right. Well, with that, I think we're moving along to our last item of today's agenda. I think we've got Peter Swinton joining us here, and we will go through an update on affordable housing.
Good evening. It's good to see you all again. I'm Peter Swinton, an urban planner in the Planning and Development Department, here to present THPRD's fiscal year 2023-24 annual affordable housing report. THPRD charges park system development fees to residential and non-residential projects within the district to increase the capacity of THPRD's parks, trails, and natural areas so they can accommodate growth in population from new development. This ensures that new people living and working within THPRD's district have access to high-quality parks and other recreation amenities without compromising the service we offer to existing residents. Despite the need to collect SDCs, THPRD recognizes that the great need for affordable housing in our community is at odds with the market forces that make it more profitable to develop market rate housing. So to incentivize the production of affordable housing, THPRD provides waivers on SDC fees through Resolution 2020-24. These waivers help incentivize affordable housing projects like the Bridge Goldcrest Apartments project that you see on the screen here, that the district collaborated in FY 22-23 and has since moved forward into construction. Through Resolution 2020-24, the Affordable Housing SDC waiver policy directs staff to provide a 100% waiver for SDCs on qualified regulated affordable housing units, restricted to those earning less than 30% or less than median family income, MFI, and a 50% waiver on SDCs for units restricted to those making between 31 and 60% of MFI. Among other requirements, developers seeking SDC waivers must record a deed restriction ensuring the housing units will remain affordable for at least the next 60 years. Please, next slide, please. So getting into tonight's update, I'd like to start by looking at the progress on the Affordable Housing SDC waiver program since its inception in 2020. THPRD's Affordable Housing SDC waiver policy includes a 632 unit affordable housing waiver cap, of which 225 of those waivers need to be reserved for units available to produce units for the less than 30% MFI market. Staff are tracking progress towards that unit cap, and since 2020, THPRD has provided more than $2.5 million in affordable housing SDC waivers to 457 affordable housing units. That represents about 72% of the total unit cap, and of the 457 units, 136 of them will serve families earning less than 30% of median family income, which represents 60% of the waivers available in that category. And 321 of that 457 serve families between 31 and 60% of MFI, representing almost an 80% allocation of the waivers available in that category. THPRD is able to provide another 175 waivers before Resolution 2020-24 sunsets. 89 of those must be reserved for units serving families less than 30% of MFI, leaving 86 waivers available to support units serving families between 31 and 60% of MFI. Next slide, please. So zooming into the program's performance in FY 23-24, THPRD issued affordable housing waivers to one project valued at more than $500,000 in SDC revenue, and enabling that funding to support a new 81-unit affordable housing development near the El Monica Southwest 170th Ave Max station. Despite the value these waivers provide, the district recognizes that they reduce the SDC revenue the district can collect, complicating how the district can serve residents living in newly developed affordable housing projects. To try to solve for this, THPRD seeks grants to ensure the district provides excellent parks, trails, natural areas, and facilities for all current and future residents, and tracks how to offset the impact of these waivers. Fortunately, Leilani crushed it, and staff were more than able to offset the impact of the SDC waivers, being awarded $6.6 million in grant funds from 14 applications in the past fiscal year. And with those decisions, we're still awaiting on the other 8 grant applications. If awarded, that would bring in another $7.9 million, bringing the total almost to $14.5 million, which far outweighs the $2.5 million in SDC waivers we've been able to provide over the last 4 years. Next slide, please.
We may have lost the PowerPoint here.
I was going to say the same thing.
We had
a
power glitch of some kind.
Interesting.
So
So some of you can see it.
Yeah, I can see it.
I can't see it either, but let's keep moving.
All right. In FY 23-24, THPRD provided SDC waivers to that Reach El Monica Station project, which will build 81 apartments, all of which are affordable. Developed in partnership with the Reach Community Development Corporation, 33 of El Monica Station's units will be targeted for residents and families making less than 30% of median family income, and 48 will be allocated to residents and families making between 31 and 60% of MFI. Affordable housing SDC waivers for the project provided $576,000 of benefit towards this project. Located near the intersection of Southwest Baseline Road and 170th Ave, near Recuerdo Park, El Monica Station will provide a variety of apartment sizes, allowing for it to accommodate individual residents and families. The development has good access to public transit and is approximately 1 block from the El Monica Southwest 170th Ave Max Station. It's also a 7-minute walk from the Waterhouse Trails intersection at Southwest Baseline Road. Construction of El Monica Station is scheduled to begin in December, and Reach hopes to finish the project by September of 2026 and having all the units in the building leased up by the end of 2026. Additionally, staff wanted to relay words of support for the Affordable Housing Waiver Program from Reach. Their project manager, Eric Jacobson, said, quote, SDC waivers like this significantly improve our efforts to build much needed affordable housing, and we appreciate THPRD's support, end quote. They also relayed that Reach highlighted THPRD's Affordable Housing SDC waiver program in a presentation to our partners at Washington County, which we greatly appreciated. So I know that some board members have inquired about touring one of the projects THPRD has supported through the SDC waiver program. Staff are confirming which of the district supported projects have finished construction and will follow up with further tour information soon. Next slide, please.
All right, I just reshared to see if we can get everybody back online here.
I'm back. Thank you, Jessica.
Okay, sorry. There we go.
No worries. Yep, that's the right slide. Thanks. As we look into the future for the Affordable Housing Waiver Program, staff wanted to highlight that Resolution 2020-24 includes a sunset provision that is triggered after THPRD waives SDCs on 632 affordable housing units, of which 225 need to be reserved for that 30% MFI category. Upon the adoption of a new SDC methodology, or by board resolution modifying or rescinding Resolution 2020-24. Staff do not anticipate triggering Resolution 2020-24's sunset provision in the current fiscal year. Staff anticipate running out of waivers in the 31 to 60% MFI category next year in FY 25-26. However, this in itself will not trigger the sunset provision, as there will still be as we still expect there to be waivers available in that 30% category. At the current affordable housing SDC waiver use rate, staff anticipate reaching the Resolution 2020-24's 632 unit waiver cap in fiscal year 26-27. Staff anticipate being able to bring options to address the current affordable housing waiver policy for board consideration in December of 2024 or January of 2025. Because the affordable housing waiver unit cap is specifically referenced in the currently adopted SDC methodology, staff need to discuss the best path forward to modify or increase that cap with THPRD's legal counsel, as changes to the methodology require a public notice period that would need to be appreciated in the implementation timelines of any modifications to the waiver policy. That said, I'm glad that we're going to have the opportunity to discuss this issue with you tonight, because to ensure compliance with the ORS, staff anticipate beginning an update to the SDC methodology in FY 25-26, and the adoption of an updated methodology in and of itself would trigger the sunset provision in Resolution 2020-24. So your feedback this evening will be really important in terms of guiding staff as that project gets underway. So with that in mind, staff wanted to ask, would the board be interested in staff bringing back options for modifying or increasing Resolution 2020-24's waiver cap? And I'll just pause for discussion.
Thank you, Peter. I was just pausing to see we're doing official hand raising. Felicita, please come on off mic.
Peter, thank you so much. I love this project so much. I'm completely biased. And a part of me wants to text Wendy Kroger and Heidi Edwards and Ashley Hartmeyer Prigg, because this has just been years of work, and Janine, just years of work. So, and I just, that many people housed is amazing. And I'm just like, oh, I want to have a big party when we hit the 632, and I want to do a press release, and I want to like paint that room. Anyway, anytime I think we can talk about this as a value, I think it helps stretch our vision and our purpose and the ways we shape community. So I'm all for continuing to discuss. I think it's really helpful for me to understand like what's in the pipeline, what's coming, and so that I can wrap my head around have we put enough funds aside? That being said, I feel like this is also a board that is very much aligned with this work, and this commitment to not being a barrier to affordable housing. So I guess I don't feel an urgency to be like, oh, we got to keep talking about this, because I feel like I know my peers pretty well. That being said, I think it's always a helpful conversation. I don't know if that's helpful or too wishy-washy, but so appreciate your work and keeping us updated.
No, absolutely. That's super helpful. Thank you. And to speak to that pipeline just briefly, we do not have any projects currently in the pipeline seeking SDC waivers in the current fiscal year. We watch those projects that we see coming in the city of Beaverton and Washington County that might be good candidates, and we reach out to the applicant teams when we feel there might be a fit. But we haven't gotten any developers recently that are interested. That said, these projects usually sort of come on pretty quick. And we have been seeing 1 to 2 projects come each year.
Thank you for that, Peter. Others?
I'll jump. Yeah, this is one of those projects that honestly, like, motivated me to run for office, try to help this work on the board. So, yeah, kudos to all of you, all of my peers who helped to get us to this point. That being said, add it to the list of lots of things where I have a pretty good theoretical understanding of it, but a lot of these like detailed and the nitty gritty of context and what's next, and that is still a little tough. Even just listening now, I'm catching a lot of it, but not all of it still. So I mean, I personally could benefit from just a little more time to kind of to immerse myself in it, I think. So so I'm in favor of whatever we need to do to keep this going with, but I'd also like to learn more. So I don't know if that's a convoluted answer, but yeah, I'm extremely proud to see these numbers and to see how we've this very complicated calculation just results in people having an affordable place to live. So yeah, I don't know what the next step would be for all of us or just me or but to figure out how we evaluate and what's next. Yeah.
Thank you for that, Alfredo. Miles?
Yeah, in a similar place to Alfredo, I guess like the clarification that I'm looking for is that so what we would be possibly bringing to the board to discuss in adjusting the policy would be to raise the unit cap. Now that we've just about reached it with the newest project being El Monica Station, is that correct? Am I tracking that right?
I think that there are. Sorry, go ahead, Doug.
Well, I'm just thinking, in essence, that's what it is. How we frame it, it could be a brand new program. It could be a different weights on the So there's definitely some sophistication to the process, but I think, as Peter noted, we can bring back more of an informational basis. We could do that in a work session so that it's informational basis, and then at a future date, take direction from the board, and at a future date, bring an actual resolution.
Okay. Yeah, that's really helpful. I know, speaking for myself, that informational kind of like understanding a deeper dive, because these projects are super exciting. The El Monica Station project is a stone throw away from my apartment. I'm like, cool, gonna get a bunch of new neighbors. That's great. But like, I think it is such an awesome opportunity for our district to be engaged in this work. I'm really excited to see how we should best move forward in creating more opportunity for more affordable units through this methodology and policy.
Thank you.
Tia, any comments, questions?
No questions. I'm really proud of the work that we've done, and I know it took a lot to get here, and so I'm glad it's getting used, and we are talking about extending it. And so I'm just really grateful for that. I guess the only thing that I would think about potentially improving it is how we can, what would be helpful to incentivize the 30 and below MFI development and stuff, and if there's anything else or any other barriers that we are doing. I mean, doing 100% waiver is kind of as much as I think we can do. But if there's something else, my only other thing is like maybe if that's all that's left, that kind of incentivize somebody to just be like, well, it's like a grant, right? Like if there's a certain grant, you're going to go for it versus if there's other ones that kind of fit your thing, you would more go for the 30 to 60 and all of that kind of stuff. So I don't know how that plays into the effect of this, but that would be interesting if that's like some kind of information. The only other thing that I would question also, and I'm not even sure if we could get this, but I would like if there's a way to see which of these projects wouldn't have happened without this grant or without this waiver. But again, I don't even know if staff could figure that out. But if there are certain projects that would not have gotten done without this, I think that's something to communicate and shout accolades for our program. And so yeah, that's all I got.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tia. I will echo Alfredo in that this was one of the first things that really inspired me as well. And I don't know if my fellow members remember back in the day when this first report came, I immediately had concern. What do we do when it runs out? So I want to offer a thanks and appreciation, because even seeing this in terms of being able to measure how much of this are we going and it's dwindling down. That's what I was concerned about up front, right? And knowing that depending on who's here and what the board looks like in the future, it's not currently written that this would be something that continues to go on. And so I definitely am in favor of coming back and looking at the different options of what it could be to, for lack of a better word, just bear with me, team, institutionalize this or put some more rigor around it so that this is just a part of what we do and isn't something that necessarily constantly has to come up for consideration once we deplete a certain number, and whether that's a cap or whatnot, to just see this be a part of how we do business, because we want to support our neighbors and make sure that we're not a barrier to housing. So thank you for the details. But when I hear that we're already at that 80%, I'm like, yep, there's the cliff and we're about to go over. And so let's get ahead of that while we know that we've got support here across the board members as we stand today. So I too would benefit from the both of a refresh and an educational kind of framework of just reminding us of how we get here to all of the nuances that are at play, as well as how could we reframe this methodology so that we're not necessarily just dealing with the number of 632 units, but potentially looking at a different framework or methodology to ensure that this program has some legs and really does go on into the future. Does that help provide some feedback for you, Peter, or do you need some more head nods? Looking at you too, Doug. Does this provide enough feedback?
Great.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that some of the questions that you all asked are really good things for us to follow up on as staff so that we can go a little bit deeper on this with you and explore some options for how it would look in the future. So really appreciate your thoughts this evening, and we'll do some homework.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Peter. Really appreciate you being here. Well,
Well,
team,
thank you. Oh.
Yeah. With that, I think, unless Doug, do you have anything else on your side of the house? I think that completes our agenda, and I would be ready to have us adjourn this evening, but just making sure we're cool.
Yep. Thank you.
All right. Well, much appreciation, folks, for joining us remotely this time. It's been a moment, but appreciate the flexibility. We are adjourned. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.